got to be relevant. Also, Mark Rippon had a huge day with 6 touchdown passes. But Rippon and the Redskins will be facing an entirely different Falcon team because 2 key members of that team didn't play in that game 7 weeks ago, Chris Miller and Deion Sanders. So the revenge-minded Falcons of Jerry Glanville, they think they got something for the Redskins today. The key today is which team handles this win better and which team gets off to the faster start.
We have been delegated with the dreaded 4-letter word, W-I-N-D. Second line on the graphic, 30 to 40 miles an hour. It's not all that cold, rather pleasant as a matter of fact for early in January. Jerry Glanville dressed in black. Now, how significant about the choice. Atlanta did not want to come out and even take the coin toss. Atlanta has won the toss, and they will receive.
Glanville told us before the game he's got another psychological move here.
Middle return, guards cross.
We'll take everyone, fellas. Middle return, guards cross. Make it work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Glanville was hoping to lose the toss. In fact, he wanted to play defense to start this game so badly that he even considered not sending anybody out for the opening coin toss. The league told him if he did that, he'd be penalized 15 yards and forfeit the option at the beginning of the second half and, if in case, at the beginning of overtime. So Glanville sent out the entire team instead.
Joe Gibbs, his team finishes 14-2 in the regular season, but not really on a roll the last 5 games. They started 11-0, lost to Dallas here, and then lost to Philadelphia in the season finale, 24-22. In the meantime, the Atlanta Falcons 5-5 after the debacle here in Week 10. They won 5 of their last 6, including 2 wins in New Orleans the last week, and Deion Sanders is entertaining the crowd early on. They're really uptight, aren't they?
The loosest group in the history of the National Football League, without a doubt.
Low Miller will kick off. The rain has increased, and so has the wind. It will be Deion Sanders. But not very far. Stephen Hobbs, 86. Chris Miller, he was a Duck, graduated from Oregon. He's used to the rain. Offensive line is nicked up. Mike Ken, Hoover, Dukes, Freilich, and Hinton. Each of them has a ding of some sort. Eric Pegram starts at running back, and the red gun will feature Rison and Haynes and Pritchard and George Thomas. Mike Ken had a superb game against Pat Swilling in New Orleans last weekend. From the 17, 1st and 10. On 1st down, Floyd Dixon makes the grab. And the tackle made by Kurt Gouveia, number 54. That's a gain of 11. Defensively, Man Williams playing in his first playoff game ever. Tim Johnson and Fred Stokes. Matt Millen has been made inactive for today's game, so it's Marshall, Gouveia, and Andre Collins. And in the secondary, watch for Darrell Green. He should be shadowing Michael Haynes most of the afternoon.
And Miller gets off to a good start, completing his first pass. He expects the Skins to play a lot of loose zone. He'll be throwing a lot of short passes to begin with.
26 touchdowns this year, right behind Rippon's 28 and Kelly's 33. Right side, caught by Rison. That's a gain across the 30 and out of bounds at the 31-yard line.
You talked about Chris Miller being a Duck. Well, Vern, I got news for you. Once a Duck, always a Duck. And Chris played in Eugene, also in high school at Sheldon High School, where he played in a lot of wet and rainy days. The biggest problem in this type of atmosphere, though, is not the rain. It is the wind. This ball is an oblong thing with points on both ends. And once you let the ball get out of a tight spiral in this type of wind, you're in big trouble. Chris knows the most important thing is to throw normally, but try and keep it in a tight spiral.
2nd and 7. Risen starts in motion. They hand it off to the fullback, and that is Tracy Johnson. Jerry Glanville telling us last night we expect to see a lot of Tracy Johnson. Mike Rozier, by the way, is inactive. He's been hampered by a bad knee. Sparked the team in New Orleans last week. Couldn't practice all week. He is not playing today, and Tracy Johnson will see a lot of action. Glanville said he's like a tractor. He's very tough.
Not only that, that was only his 9th carry of the entire year, so Tracy Johnson has not handled the ball well. We'll see how he handles it in these conditions.
Pegram is back in now, and on 3rd down, Atlanta goes from the shotgun. They have scored on 9 of their opening drives in games this year. Into the flat, Risen. And that's a 1st down, Atlanta up at the 47. As a matter of fact, one of those scoring drives was here at RFK. Despite losing 56-17, they led 3-0 at one point.
2nd reception now for Risen on the inside here, and crossing patterns for Andre Risen is where he is most effective. Working against A.J. Johnson here, just runs away from Johnson, and Miller has enough time to throw for the 2nd time, and he puts it right on the money.
Encouraging start for Atlanta.
Absolutely. Coming into this stadium where it's very loud but also windy, the wind amplifies the noise even that much more.
1st and 10 from the 46. Miller looks deep. Tipped, intercepted. Picked off by Danny Copeland at the 29. And he counter punches to the 47. One of 5 Plan B acquisitions who start defensively for the Washington Redskins.
This is Copeland's 2nd interception of the year. The protection is fantastic, but Miller's mistake here is he's trying to go deep to his outlet receiver, but look at all the Redskins around Pritchard. Collins gets his hand on the ball, the old tip drill. Copeland comes up with a big interception.
Redskins were plus 18 in regular season turnover ratio. They have a 1st down. Mark Rippon, the quarterback. Ernest Biner. And he doesn't get much. A yard, maybe a yard and a half. Robert Lyles with the tackle. Mark Rippon, Pro Bowl starter. 6'4", 234 from Washington State. Had a sensational year. And helped in no small measure by Lachey, McKenzie, Bostic, Schlereth, Jacoby, and Don Warren. They allowed only 9 sacks this year. Biner again. Squirts through across the 50 to the 46. Ernest Biner is also bound for the Pro Bowl this year. And the posse, Art Monk, Gary Clark, and Ricky Sanders. And the Redskins go with a no-huddle offense, Dan. Something they have used this year.
And been very effective with the no-huddle. Especially important against Atlanta that likes to use a lot of different defensive fronts. This will keep them off balance.
Mark Rippon said last night they'd put it in storage, he thought. Here's the pass deep for Clark, incomplete. He had gotten behind Scott Case.
I think we're going to see the effect of the wind on that ball. It got out of spiral on Rippon, and it appeared that Gary Clark just misjudged it at the last moment. The wind is swirling down on the field. It's going to be very difficult to throw the ball deep today.
Joe Gibbs' offense can't convert on 3rd down, and now Kelly Goodburn is on to punt. Keep in mind, Atlanta blocked 2 of Goodburn's punts in the 1st game. He's had 3 blocked this year. Sanders waits at the 12-yard line. Excellent coverage. Sidney Johnson makes the tackle. 10:48 to go. Scoreless 1st quarter. Smallest stadium in the NFL, but it is always full, and it is today. The weather does not keep the Redskins fans away from RFK.
And the majority of the fans stand throughout the ball game. And today they'll be standing and hugging each other, trying to stay warm. The amazing thing with the weather as it is today, it's warmer now than it was in the first game 7 weeks ago when it was 39 degrees here in Washington.
Yeah, 50 degrees is downright balmy. Chris Miller off to a good start. Falcons with the ball for the second time at their own 15-yard line. No score. And he runs the draw to Tracy Johnson. And the tractor gets 5 out to the 20-yard line.
Talked about Miller being off to that good start. Vern, I think that he's going to have to throw the ball today about 60 or 70 times. He's going to be effective. Without Rozier in the lineup, it's going to be tough for the Falcons to run against this defense of the Redskins.
And not that they have played here all that often, only 7 times, but the Atlanta Falcons have never won in RFK. They're zip for 7.
Well, the odds are in their favor then.
Pat Chafee checks into the backfield now, number 28. He is also a seldom used running back. But I would, he gets the handoff. It's Chafee. Across the 20 to the 22. That'll leave a need of about 3.5 for first down.
Glanville knows a little bit about Chafee's background. He's from Oregon State. And they play in the mud and the rain up there in Corvallis. But the job there of Gavea, starting at middle linebacker today for Matt Millen, shows his versatility. He's in there because he's a fine pass defender as well as a run stopper.
Monty Coleman, number 51, now in his 13th season. One of 4 men on the Redskin roster who have played in all 16 playoff games under Joe Gibbs. 3rd and 2. Miller, deep right side, man coverage, out of bounds. Michael Haynes, Darrell Green. We'll see the 2 of them shadowing each other all afternoon.
Yeah, and score 1 for Darrell Green, but also for the wind, as the wind sailed that ball out of bounds. But even if it had been inbounds, Green was all over Michael Haynes.
Scott Fulhag is on the punt for the Falcons, and Brian Mitchell is back to return it. Number 2 in the league at punt returns. He's brought a couple back for touchdowns this year. Mitchell downed immediately. Joe Fishback. In the wind and the rain at RFK Stadium, Joe Fishback tackles Brian Mitchell. The Redskins get it for the second time.
Don, your Allstate agent who wants to be your agent for life. You're in good hands with Allstate. And by Miller Lite, it's it, and that's that.
9:02 remaining first quarter. Redskins' second offensive set. They start this time from their own 33. Cross midfield after the Danny Copeland interception, but Rippon and Clark misfired on the deep pass on 3rd down. Here's the reverse to Art Monk. Tries to get outside Ken Tippins and can't. And Tippins, who is starting in place of Darian Connor for the Falcons, read that one nicely. Tippins, one of the 11 defenders. Up front, a very small defensive line, Brian Gardner and Tim Green. The linebackers, Lyles, Rady, Tuggle, and Tippins. And in the backfield is McKyer and Sanders, joined by Case and Jordan. And again, the Redskins go with the no-huddle offense. 2nd down and 12. Short setup. Gary Clark, first down. Jesse Tuggle with the tackle.
Now score 1 for Gary Clark in his first battle against Deion Sanders out here on the outside. It's a hitch pattern, and Sanders is used to this sloppy field here at RFK, and Clark is used to it. Sanders is not, and a big first down for the Redskins.
And again, the no-huddle. Rippon saying last night he did not expect them to use much no-huddle offense today. First down and 10 at the 47. No score. Biner. Tippins. Gain of 3.
Redskins had all types of trouble 7 weeks ago trying to run the ball against the Falcons. Because the Falcons put 8 men up crowding the line of scrimmage, That left Rippon to throw for 442 yards, but he won't be able to do that today with this type of wind.
442 and 6 touchdowns, and charges by almost every Falcon we talked to that Joe Gibbs ran up the score on the Atlanta Falcons. They have tried to use that as a motivating force this week. Rippon goes deep, man open. Art Monk. His 50th catch in a playoff game. The 802nd of his career. First down.
Real good play selection by Joe Gibbs as he rolled Rippon away. The Falcons crossed them up a little bit by only rushing 3 men. Monk found the hole in an 8-man secondary.
You surprised they using no huddle?
Not really, because Joe Gibbs feels that this is really a way to get the other team off balance and to be unpredictable in his own right.
Rippon settles short, incomplete, almost picked off. Intended for Biner.
You know, Rippon is one of the best long throwers in football, but if he has a flaw, it's how he delivers the short pass. That time he threw the ball behind Biner and too hard, and he's real lucky that wasn't intercepted by Robert Lyles.
Saw the total offense graphic. This is the second time now the Redskins have been across the 50. First time this deep at the 30-yard line where they face a second down and 10. 6:33 to go, first quarter, and we are scoreless. Don Warren starts in motion. Rippon waggled to the left. Good protection. And it is dropped after the hit by the secondary at the 25, intended for Gary Clark. Third down and 10.
This is a case of Rippon getting a little greedy here. He's got Ricky Sanders, 83, going to the corner, and Clark is open right now, but he doesn't take him. He takes him a little bit too late. Now watch all the black shirts that converge on the pass. Tough catch for Gary Clark in a crowd.
Art Monk goes left. He's matched up with Brian Jordan. Ricky Sanders comes into a wing on the right side, and Gary Clark is in a slot left. Third and 10. 3-man rush by the Falcons. Rippon again with time. Across the middle, caught at the 20, short of the first down. Now we see the ball is dropped. Intended for Monk. It'll be fourth down.
And the Falcons, Doug Shively, their defensive coordinator, is changing things up. Playing a lot more zone today. Not as much man-to-man. A little worried about the field conditions, but also he remembers all those bombs that Rippon threw 7 weeks ago.
And Chip Lohmiller, the Pro Bowl place kicker, is on. Jeff Rutledge will hold. Lohmiller outscored by himself this year the Indianapolis Colts. Rutledge will hold, 47 yards to break the scoreless tie. Wide right. So the Falcons have held back the Redskin onslaught twice thus far. There is a noticeable contrast in the reputations of the two teams as well as the coaching staff. This is during the field goal, Dan.
Special teams coach Bobby April, and now Glanville. He's pushing it right. He's pushing it right. Yeah.
And in the meantime, Joe Gibbs.
Well, this wind is blowing between 30 and 39 miles an hour. Gibbs' worst nightmare as a coach is his kicker misses wide right.
First and 10, Atlanta, scoreless game. Miller, good protection. Right side, caught by Michael Haynes. No catch. Michael Haynes, who electrified his teammates and quieted the New Orleans crowd last week. A 61-yard touchdown pass on a hitch pattern, a 7-yard out.
22 yards per catch is a fantastic number. Obviously, he led the NFL, but he's the most dangerous man on the field, according to Joe Gibbs, because he gets down there in such a hurry, puts a lot of pressure on the defense. Brad Edwards, the weak safety, is going to be looking his way all day long.
Second and 10. Slipped the ball to Tracy Johnson, and he plunges over right tackle across the 35 to the 36-yard line. tackle is made by Monty Coleman. Again, Mike Rozier is on the inactive list.
And Johnson at 230 pounds, he'll get off the right side here behind Hinton as Hinton just lets Mann run himself out of the play. And this is a fine 5-yard gain for the Falcons.
3rd and 5.
That's going to be a great battle all day long. Chris Hinton, a Pro Bowler, against Charles Mann, a Pro Bowler.
Atlanta 1 of 2 on 3rd down conversions so far. They were 6 of 10 last week in New Orleans. Quick flip to Rising, short of the 1st down. It'll be a punting situation. Now let's see what, yeah, they spotted just short of the 40. They might measure, but it appears short.
Rising had the 1st down if he just keeps going down the field. He stopped to make a move. His feet went out from underneath him, and he may have come up short.
Red Cashin is our referee today, the pride of Bryan, Texas.
Here's Rising. Watch as he grabs this ball on the quick look from Miller. If he just keeps going instead of planting that left foot, he would have got inside A.J. Johnson and easily picked up the 1st down. But this field is not going to hold up very long. It's been raining here a couple of days. They had the tarp on the field, and he came up short about 6 inches. Watch his left foot come out here to plant to make a move. It leaves him, and he comes up about a ½ a foot short of the 1st down. Problem with this field is it's below sea level and does not drain all that well.
And that brings on Scott Fulhag. Darrell Green has gone back to return the punt, replacing Brian Mitchell. Green, called by Wayne Sevier the best punt return man he's ever coached. Wayne Sevier is the special teams coach of the Washington Redskins. So Darrell Green is back. Fulhag with protection. Nice high punt and a fair catch called by Green at the 13-yard line. Boy, that was a dandy punt.
He got it up in the jet stream is what he did.
That's right. Thing almost landed at National Airport. 48 yards, still scoreless. We remain scoreless, 4:45 remaining 1st quarter. Vern Lundquist and Dan Fouts at RFK Stadium. And Clark, Middleton, and Monk make a late entrance into the huddle, Dan.
And this is Gibbs' offense for when he's backed up against his own goal line. So far today, the posse has been in 8 of their 10 plays. Different personnel now, though.
They have 4 packages offensively that they will use. And here is Ricky Irvins, the rookie running back out of Southern California, who gets it out to the 19-yard line. A tackle made by Rick Bryan.
One thing about the obvious mismatch up front, the Hogs go about 290, whereas the 5 down linemen of the Falcons are only averaging about 260 pounds. And with this type of field condition, I believe that with Irvins and Biner and Gerald Riggs, that Washington should be effective on the ground.
2nd down and 4. They pick up 6 for Ricky Irvins. Monk in motion, followed by Sanders. Griffin, one hopper, incomplete for Gary Clark. It'll be 3rd down.
One thing Doug Shively told me earlier in the week is that normally you play the Redskins, you say, we got to stop the running game. But we did that in the 1st game, and they beat us by 39 points. Now his thinking is, we've got to stop that bomb. We've got to prevent that big play. We're going to play less man-to-man. Already in this 1st quarter, we've seen just a 3-man rush from the Falcons, and it's been very effective as Rippon has missed his last 4 passes.
Bobby Butler comes in defensively now on 3rd and 4. Don Moran lines up tight to the left. 3-man rush again, and they drop 8. The pass incomplete. Scott Case defending, no flag. Very important for Atlanta that Scott Case play well today.
The thing about Case, as the Redskins fail on their 3rd straight 3rd down conversion, is he is a former Pro Bowl cornerback. He has this ability, although he plays safety now, that's real close to being pass interference, but what we can't see is his left hand. Obviously, a perfect play by Scott Case.
Kelly Goodburn on to punt. Special teams so important today, and here's one of the best, Deion Sanders. Nice and high, and a fair catch that Sanders lets bounce over his head, but it digs into the wet turf and comes to a stop. Now Jerry Glanville, in his second year as the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, he thinks Joe Gibbs did run up the score. How did he phrase it? He said he tried to touch our spirit and kill our soul.
I'm not sure what all that means, but
well, it means Jerry's trying to be a cowboy poet.
He's trying to be exactly that, Vern, and he was very mad about that. It wasn't as though they were throwing the ball every down, but every time they threw it in the fourth quarter in that ball game, they did throw it deep.
Pat Chafee is in the backfield now. 3:47 to go. No score. Chafee gets the handoff. And doesn't get much.
Interesting thing about the playoffs this year, Vern, with 8 teams in the playoffs, all 3 teams that feature the run and shoot made the playoffs. Houston, Detroit, and here Atlanta. Although when you talk to Glanville and you say run and shoot, he kind of snarls a little bit. He really doesn't like that term. He likes that red gun because that's his name for it. But he was forced into the 4 wide receiver alignment because of injuries. He would love to have 2 tight ends and a big fullback in these weather conditions.
Second down and 8. 3:05 to go first quarter. Miller, good protection. Deep for Pritchard, incomplete for third down. Well, Jamie Dukes, the starting center for the Falcons, told us last night the best thing that happened to this team was when our tight ends got hurt.
I bet his teammates, those tight ends, really appreciate that type of thinking. But what it did is it forced Atlanta almost to go to their strength, because the strength of this team is not in how they run the ball. It's in these fleet receivers of Haynes, Pritchard, Dixon, Phillips, and Rison, and the mobility of Chris Miller to move around in the pocket and throw the ball. Miller can also be effective running the ball, as he led all NFL quarterbacks with a 7-yard rushing average.
3rd and 8. Incomplete for Rison. 4th down. Wilbur Marshall. And he's going to get in his face. Well, I promise you, Andre Rison did say something back.
And Wilbur with the big smile, you know, he got the best of it because he got the pass defense. He says, no way he can grab that one. Now Rison saying, hey, Chris, you threw that one a little hard, didn't you?
4th down again. This time Brian Mitchell is the deep man. Scott Fulhaig to punt. Again, a fine punt by Fulhaig. Mitchell dropped almost immediately. Looked like he was going to shake loose, ran into his own man. And then Elbert Shelley, the best of the special teamers on coverage, downfield to make the tackle.
One of the advantages, disadvantages coming into a ball game like this is the Redskins had last week off, whereas the Falcons had to play that tough game in New Orleans. Now, depending on who you talk to here, who has the advantage? Gibbs says, well, they do, obviously. They've been in the pressure cooker 2 weeks in a row now, and we're a little bit rusty. So far, both teams are off to very poor starts offensively, although their defenses are playing fantastic.
Ernest Biner is back in the lineup behind Mark Rippon. Play action. Rippon again with all day to throw the ball, but he has to throw it away because of the presence of Jesse Tuggle. Joe Gibbs said last night that he thought Jesse Tuggle was the best inside linebacker he had ever coached against.
And if Joe Gibbs had more than just one vote for middle linebacker in the Pro Bowl, he would have given them all to Jesse Tuggle. Led the league in tackles 2 years in a row.
Used the words fabulous and fantastic along with a ton of other adjectives. 2nd down and 10. Biner. 12-yard gain. 1st down. Case with the tackle.
For the Redskins to be effective, they're going to have to use this muscle up front and just run straight at the Falcons. Nothing fancy there. Biner, who's normally a cutback runner, just had a huge hole and could run straight for the first down.
Put the double team on Rick Bryan and knocked him out of the way. It's 1st and 10, no score. And this time they stopped the run. Biner, no gain, maybe 1 yard.
And that's the thing about this Falcon defense is they'll stop 2 or 3 runs because they like to bring linebackers up, plug all the holes, 8 men up. But then every once in a while, you'll pop one through, as Biner did a couple plays back.
You know, Mark Rippon was talking about that defense, Dan. He said it looks kind of crazy, but there's a discipline to it, and it's not an uncoordinated defense at all. Here's Rippon, left side. Another first down for the Redskins. In front of Brian Jordan, it's Gary Clark with the catch.
Clark, knowing he's just shy of the first down, the key play on this is as he catches the ball, he'll pivot to the outside. Trouble's coming from the inside by Jordan, but the pivot to the outside immediately is what gives Clark the first down.
Final 65 seconds, quarter number 1, 30 to 39 mile-an-hour winds. Temperature not bad, 50 degrees. Final draw play.
That's an excellent call by Joe Gibbs on first down because the Falcons have been just rushing 3 guys. There's nothing easier to run in football than a draw play against just 3 men rushing the passer.
And the no huddle on second down. Clark comes near side. Monk will join him. And Ricky Sanders in tight to the left side. No score. Final 23 seconds, quarter number 1. Biner searches, nothing. Third down at the 50. Jesse Tuttle, Robert Lyles. Lyles, who nicknamed the Astrodome the House of Pain when he paid for Jerry Glanville and the Oilers. That's the end of the first quarter with our score. The Atlanta Falcons, nothing. The Washington Redskins, nothing.
Very nice from a distance, but when you get down close to it, there's some real craters. We've seen Risen slip earlier, but watch Donnie Warren, number 85. He's got a key block to make here, but his footing goes away from him, and Tuggle's there for the tackle.
So we start quarter number 2 with a third down. No score. Ricky Sanders in motion, ripping back, a 3-man rush again. Across the middle, caught. First down, fumble. And they will rule down by contact at the 31, so the play will stand. John Rady defensively. Ricky Sanders, a 19-yard gain.
You see the change in the type of patterns the Redskins run. Now, this is a zone pattern because Gibbs is anticipating another zone defense by the Falcons. Clark is as good as anyone at catching the ball over the middle.
And it was Gary Clark with a catch, and Sanders popped on the ball. Ricky Urbans tests the middle, gets inside the 30 to the 27. Ken Kiffins with the tackle.
Gibbs is lucky to have a couple of running backs that do well on muddy fields. Both are short guys, Biner and Urbans. Both have that low center of gravity, and Urbans told us yesterday, important for him to run wide. Well, at 5'7", 200 pounds, he doesn't have any choice.
He is wide. 600 yards, led all rookie running backs in the NFC. On second down, Rippon comes to his left. On a rope inside the 20 at the 19, another first down.
Art Monk is going to the Hall of Fame, no doubt, and next year, in the beginning of the year, he'll pass Steve Largent as the all-time receiving leader in the NFL because of plays like that. Did you see at the end of the play as he came back down the sideline, find that open area?
Redskins' deepest penetration of the ball game. They did miss a 47-yard field goal. They have a 1st and 10 at the 19. No score. Irvin slips.
This is twice now the Redskins have tried to run that counter play with Donnie Warren, the leading blocker on it, but because of the field conditions, they're not going to have a lot of success doing it. Too slippery to make those sharp cuts needed to make those blocks.
Falcons hurry to make their defensive changes. Draw play. Irving comes left. Touchdown, Washington. $17 yards. And Lohmiller, perfect on extra points this year, 56 of 56. Gets his first in the playoffs.
It's a draw play by the Redskins. A fine call again by Joe Gibbs. Watch the pass rush, just 3 men. Key blocked by Lachey and also by Art Monk. And now a missed tackle by Eaton. And Irvin's in for the score.
The new Civic CX from Honda. It won't break the bank.
There is a gasoline that is clearly advanced. A gasoline that will give you the highest level of engine cleaning for high performance. A gasoline formulated to clean fuel injectors and intake valves. Who has this gasoline? You know who. Phase 4 gasoline from Exxon. For cleaner engines and high performance.
Why is it so busy at McDonald's?
It's such a good deal right now. We have 59-cent hamburgers, 69-cent cheeseburgers.
Price is low, it tastes great. Can't beat it.
You name it, we got it. People love us. Check out the prices.
How much is a cheeseburger this week at McDonald's?
69 cents.
And next week?
69 cents.
How much does a 59-cent hamburger cost?
Is sponsored by McDonald's.
17 of those 60 Washington rushing yards came on the touchdown by Ricky Irvins. Lohmiller missed from 47 yards out, and the Redskins have a 7-0 lead as they kick off. Sanders at the 7. And he gets it out to the 27. We go back and take another look at the Irvins touchdown run.
Well, the Falcons are going to rush 3 men here, Vern. The key block is by Lachey on Scott Case. Watch as the tight end will turn out and let the man run up the field. And now Case is being asked to take on a man who outweighs him by 100 pounds in Jim Lachey. You talk about a mismatch.
It took 11 plays, 81 yards, 5:06 off the clock, 17 for Ricky Irvins, his first playoff touchdown in the NFL. Miller will throw on first down, goes left, catches Andre Rison. And no catch. He was out of bounds.
Watch on the right side of the screen as Miller on the half roll throws the ball on time, but Rison steps out of bounds with his right foot. Watch his right foot as he makes this catch. He knows trouble's coming in Andre Collins. He's got to be a little disappointed in his field awareness. He probably thought he had both feet down when he made the catch.
2nd and 10. 12:22 to go, first half of play. This is a Washington team that registered 3 shutouts at home this year. Tracy Johnson, big hole at left tackle. Mike Ken leading the blocking charge, and Johnson's out to the 36-yard line.
We'll take a look at Mike Ken, number 78. Made All-Pro this year, but did not make the Pro Bowl. That's kind of hard to figure out. But the double team there, and then he comes off on the inside linebacker there, Coleman. And this is the best running play for the Falcons. Ken told me earlier in the week that this is his 14th year in the NFL. He's been in the playoffs 4 times. His message to his teammates, his younger teammates, cherish this moment. It doesn't happen every day.
3rd and 1. Pat Stapey. Fumble. Loose ball. Who got it? Washington.
Coming off this left side, Chafee has the first down here, but the ball is stripped away. Coleman will dive on this one with help from his friends. 2nd turnover of the day for the Redskins. Look at the big hole there that's plugged up by Coleman. Ball will come back right at him, the bottom of the pile. Jumpy Gathers as well on the play.
And Charles Mann with the strip, 1st down. Ernest Biner back at running back. 1st and 10, 7-0 Redskins have the lead. Biner down to the 32-yard line. There is Charles Mann. Coined the defensive unit the National Defense.
And I'm not sure that's going to really make it on the all-time nickname list. The problem with that name is that on offense they've got the greatest nickname of all time in the Hogs, and now you've got a real depressing type of nickname, the National Defense.
Are you suggesting it's contrived? It did. 2nd down. And that should move the chains. Biner again into Tim Green, number 99.
You know, if I was Charles Mann, I would name it the Swine, maybe something nasty and dirty, and so that would go with the Hogs. You got the Hogs on one side, you got the Swine on the other side. But National Defense, come on, with the budget cuts and everything.
Yeah, but given a choice, that's a heck of a pick. You could be a hog or a swine.
Charles is a corporate man.
Yeah, is he ever? Well, they got the logos fixed. Here's Rippon. There's Sanders. And that's a 1st and goal. It was Sanders on Sanders that time. And Ricky beat Dion.
Donnie Warren gets away with a holding call here. That allowed Rippon the time to find the receiver down the field, and the Redskins are in business on the 2-yard line. So many weapons for Joe Gibbs and Mark Rippon. There's too many people for the Falcons to handle, at least so far.
1st and goal. Gerald Riggs is in. 11 touchdowns this year. Make it an even dozen. The all-time rushing leader for the Atlanta Falcons scores for the Washington Redskins. Gerald Riggs.
6'1", 240, just too strong, too big, as he hits the secondary man. Case drives him into the end zone. And now watch after the touchdown. Riggs, who loses his helmet here, has it pulled off actually by Scott Case. He wants this spike to be felt all the way down south in Atlanta. You bet.
Lohmiller with the extra point. Well, Jerry Glanville's got a companion with him here, a singer named Jerry Jeff Walker. He penned a tune that seems appropriate for the Falcons. Up against the wall, redneck mother. Well, the Hogs are here in their usual dress.
Yeah, this is a new rock group. It's called High on the Hog. This is you're a, I'm a, he's a, she's a, and they're a. They've got an answer for Hammer.
Deion Sanders at the goal line. Deion Sanders at the 23. Well, of course, the divisional playoffs continue tomorrow on CBS. The Dallas Cowboys and the Detroit Lions. All starts at 3:30 Eastern Time, a rematch. The Cowboys lost to the Lions 34-10 in Game 1 at the Silverdome. And it'll start with the NFL today. Terry and Greg, nice and dry back in the studio. And Leslie and Pat, nice and dry indoors at the Silverdome tomorrow.
I think Leslie and Pat should make the All-Madden team for their work before this game.
Not Pat, Leslie.
For sure. Well,
Yeah.
Pat will be second team.
First and 10, 14-0. Redskins lead it. Miller back. Miller may or may not be sacked. Did he get back to the line of scrimmage? Fred Stokes.
See the difference in the defensive philosophies. Shively and the Falcons rush 3. The Hogs, or rather the Swine, are going to bring 4 at Miller. And the fourth guy is going to get him. Fred Stokes stops Miller for about a half-a-yard loss.
Redskin defense outstanding at RFK. Mentioned a while ago they had 3 shutouts here. They started off with a 45-0 pasting of the Lions. Barry Sanders on the opening game of the season. Second down. Pritchard is in motion. Little flip out to Pritchard. Picked it off his shoe tops, incomplete. And it'll be 3rd and 11.
Talking to defensive coordinator Richie Pettibone yesterday about the keys to the game, this is exactly what he wanted to see. He wants to swat Miller's head a few times, or at least have his big guys up front here. Tim Johnson gets in here this time. Although he doesn't sack Miller, he knocks him down and almost took out his left knee.
There's Richie Pettibone. Might be a candidate for one of the multitude of vacancies
He would
in the NFL.
Make a fantastic head coach. All the experience in the world and a fantastic player in his own right.
3rd and 11. Left side, intercepted. Martin Mayhew, 3rd turnover of the first half. He had 3 in regular season. He's got 1 in the playoffs.
3 straight pass plays for the Falcons, and 3 times great pressure by the Redskins defensive line. Watch as Miller's backing in the pocket, trying to get rid of this ball before the blitz from the outside by A.J. Johnson came in there and hit him low. Here's Johnson. Watch him come on the blitz here. Nobody to pick him up. Pegram's a little bit late, and again the quarterback gets hit, and the insult to that injury is the interception by Mayhew.
Second interception for Chris Miller. 1 picked off by Danny Copeland. 3 Atlanta turnovers. That one by Mayhew. Ricky Urbans, he's nailed behind the line at the 27-yard line.
This is 9 turnovers now in the last 2 games between these 2 teams. Glanville said that they had their spirit touched a little bit. Well, that soul's getting rocked right now.
The Falcons turned it over 6 times in losing here. Bobby Wilson getting a little medical attention. Rippon knocked away at the 12-yard line. No flag. Intended for Gary Clark. There's what Dan was talking about. 9 Atlanta turnovers in this spot.
6 in the last game, 3 each in each half. So it's 3 now for the Redskins, so they're right on pace.
3rd and 10. Sanders in motion. 3-man Atlanta rush. Into the flat for Ricky Urbans. Nice little juke step. And he's down to the 16. And that should be enough to move the chain. See where the spot is.
We talk about all the weapons that Rippon has to deal with. In this situation on 3rd down, this is why the Redskins led the NFL in 3rd down conversions, hitting over 50% of their attempts. They have so many guys you got to cover. Falcons went back in a zone defense and left Ricky Irvins wide open. And he used that ability, that natural running back ability, to get close to this first down. And indeed, he picks it up. Here's Irvins right here, and he's just going to go out on a little stop pattern, and there's just nobody there to take him. It's a zone coverage, kind of out of character for the Falcons, but something they felt they had to do to prevent the long bombs, and Irvins burns them.
First and 10, 7:35 to go. First half of play. That running play again doesn't go. Ricky Irvins, Torrey Epps, number 74, Rick Bryan, and Robert Lyles remains on the ground. So the medical staff of the Atlanta Falcons hustles onto the field. Not going well for Jerry Glanville and the Falcons. 14-0. Time has been called to 10 to Robert Lyles. In their first meeting here, week 10, the Redskins did not run well, but they have found some yards up the middle today.
Especially with these field conditions and their size advantage. Although Tim Green doesn't want to be called a small defensive lineman at 245 pounds, that's exactly what he is. And the other defensive philosophy change for the Falcons, with only 3 down linemen and playing a lot of loose zone, that has really opened up the middle.
Robert Lyles with assistance, knee injury, being helped to the bench. Michael Reed will come in and take his place.
And the other part about rushing just 3 men is there hasn't been any pressure on Rippon. That's allowed him to get hot, hitting 5 of his last 6 passes. But one thing about the Falcons, there's no quit in them. They have been very successful coming from behind, especially at their late season rush.
14-0 the score, 7:14 the time remaining, and second down and 10 for the Redskins. Ricky Irvins. Rippon will throw it. Goes right, picked off. There's a flag down, and the pass is lateral back from Jordan to Tim McKyer. Mark Rippon with a tackle. Now check the flag on the near side of the field. Brian Jordan with the interception. Motion call, Washington. Atlanta will keep the football.
Intercepted by illegal motion. There's a flat 55 on the offense. That penalty is declined. First down.
Well, the zone pays off this time for the Falcons defense, as Jordan, number 40, is going to run right out underneath this out pattern. We've seen the Skins be successful throwing twice to Gary Clark on that little hitch. That's a heck of a lateral there by Jordan.
Really?
Now McKyer is looking for Sanders. Can't find him anywhere. He should be looking to try and get extra yardage.
These guys ought to be a rugby team.
He let a quarterback tackle him. That's unbelievable. Now they're moving the ball back, saying that he was down by contact probably.
Last 5 possessions, 3 punts and 2 turnovers. Well, so much has been made about the last play in the wind down in New Orleans when McKyer intercepted a blind lateral back to Sanders, who then found Joe Fishback. Chris Miller said, yes, we asked him, what were you yelling? He was saying, get on the ground, get on the ground. He said, I included various expletives.
Yeah, you bet he did. I'm sure there's some people that wish they had a gun or something to take one of their legs out to make sure that they wouldn't turn that one over.
Funny about that play, Dan. You talk to football people and they were aghast, I guess is a good word. But you talk with fans around the country, they loved it.
The NFL has been criticized so much for no fun league. Well, the Falcons, they do one thing better than anybody, is they have more fun than any team I've ever seen.
Reason for the delay is they are checking with replay for the spot of the ball. That's what's at issue.
Well, we've gone a quarter and a half and we haven't heard from anybody in the replay booth, so
mercifully,
yeah, this is a pretty good deal for us.
Mark Rippon, who is 6'4" and weighs 235.
He's really going to drill McKyer here too. He's hunting him out. Now he's got that head down and he drives him back.
Grade him on the tackle.
100%. Beautiful.
How many did you make?
Tackles or interceptions?
No, tackles.
Too few to mention, buddy.
Mark is explaining it now to Jim Hannafin, and Joe Gibbs, 1st and 10, Atlanta. They needed something like that to stop this Washington surge. 1st and 10, Rising in motion left. Intercepted. Picked off by Kurt Gouveia. So much for a momentum shift.
Again, the field comes into play and the zone defense of the Redskins. Watch Miller come back, and he slips. Once he slips, his timing is thrown off, and that allows Gouveia to get back into his coverage and make the interception. Miller 1 out of his last 10 with 3 interceptions. Kicking the ground, you know that's what he's thinking about, throwing his timing off.
1st and 10, Washington, 6:49 remaining in the first half of play. Ernest Biner. Well, coming in, the Falcons, despite their surge at 6 wins out of their last 7 games, 11-point underdogs. They had to play almost error-free football to win here for the first time ever, and what they've done is just the opposite. They've given up 4 times, and a player down for the Redskins at the 28.
This is Jim Lachey, my old teammate in San Diego. Number 79 here, as the Redskins are going to go with their trademark counter trade play for the first time today. Lachey behind McKenzie there, and a low hit there got him right around that right knee. Lachey did not play 7 weeks ago against the Falcons because of a knee injury. We hope this one obviously is not serious.
Jim Lachey going back to the Pro Bowl again. And looks like it's going to be okay.
Check out who gets this hit from the left side of the screen. Michael Reed, who's filling in for Robert Lyles. You can see the brace already on Lachey's knee. He has one on both knees, as do many offensive linemen.
Jim Lachey, whose business partner and former teammate at Ohio State, Mike Tomczak, is here in town. Jim was telling us last night that he and Tomczak went out for dinner. People kept talking about the Bears, and Mike said, hey, wait a minute. I now play for the Green Bay Packers. 6.5 to go. 14-0, Redskins up. Rippon, that had a wobble on it. Ed Simmons has checked in at left tackle and taken Jim Lachey's spot, one-time starter at the right side. And kind of modest numbers for Mark Rippon. 3rd down and long coming up. Rain has not subsided. They were expecting an inch or more this afternoon. And the wind is still ripping through the stadium.
We talked about Miller having experience playing in foul weather. Well, so is Mark Rippon playing at the Washington State University up there in Spokane. They can get real nasty up there.
3rd and 7. Rippon looks back to the left side. Finds Gary Clark, who is knocked backwards by Deion Sanders. And it'll be 4th down.
You know, I just moved an entire university 90 miles from to Spokane.
Well, they do play some games at Spokane.
At Joe Albee Stadium. And before I get burned by all my Northwest buddies, I had to retract that one.
Matter of fact, before Mark Rippon got to Washington State, I did a game there in Spokane, California at Washington State. And the wind was clocked that day at 80 miles an hour. I saw a kid kick a 75-yard field goal in pregame warmups, and I also saw a kid punt one 40 yards behind his head.
Wow.
Lohmiller, no. And Glanville takes heart from that. Chip Lohmiller is 0 for 2.
And both times it's been out to the right, and Lohmiller is normally a hook kicker where he'll start it out to the right and it'll come back into the left. Not this time.
Might have thought he scored. Ahead, given award for the pilot.
Yeah, he ought to make the All-Madden team too.
In this win. First down and 10. Atlanta, despite 4 turnovers, still in the game, but they've got to get something going offensively. Miller with time, goes left, Risen has it. Out of bounds, first down, an 11-yard gain.
Absolutely critical for the Falcons to get at least 3 points going in at halftime. You could say they've dodged a few bullets here. They've dodged cannonballs with 3 interceptions by Miller here in the first half.
How do they get it going, Dan?
Just doing what they normally do. The thing about Chris Miller, he's such a competitor, and in this offense, it allows a quarterback to compete because they've got to throw the ball to be successful. That's the only thing they have in their offense.
First and 10. 5:02 to go, first half. Stunts by the Redskin defense, and Mike Pritchard makes the catch in front of Darrell Green, a gain of 5 yards.
And although it's only 5 yards, it's a completed pass. It builds Chris's confidence, and it gives his team a feeling, hey, we're moving it, boys. It may be only 5 yards, but we are moving.
Well, and you go back to the reaction that we saw of Jerry Glanville on the Low Miller miss, obviously feeling like if they can get something going, they're hanging on by the hair on their chinny chin chin, but they're still in the ball game.
Speaking of hogs and swines, huh?
Right. Rain increases. Wind stays the same. They should put on leather helmets and call this game being played in 1932. Across the middle, wide open, Risen. First down, Atlanta at the 48. Big play for the Falcons. A gain of 16.
I think Low Miller's miss of that field goal, Vern, deflated the Redskins a little bit. They're not getting the pressure on Miller as they did earlier.
Rick Bryan on the right. John Rady. How can we stop them? First and 10, Atlanta. They trail 14-0 with 3:34 remaining in the first half. Up the middle. Whoa! Wow! Jumpy Gathers put the forklift on him.
They call him the strongest man on the football team. Let's take a look at him. Number 97 from the left side of the screen. He's going to put out a big left arm, and Pegram is going to stop cold. Straight down on his back.
A couple of weeks ago, we were chatting with Charles Mann, the all-pro tackle, defensive end rather, for the Redskins. He said, don't put the cameras on me, guys. Put them on Jumpy Gathers. He's awesome. Acquired Plan B, New Orleans. Knee problem. Second down and 10. Miller looks deep. Settles short. Intercepted. Picked off by Darrell Green. A flag on the far side of the field. Green gets an assist from the official. And jumps out of bounds. Now we will check the infraction. Chris Miller is having an awful afternoon.
Where this was thrown, it may be against the Redskins.
On the far side of the field, away from the play.
It is.
Well, Wilbur Marshall got face-to-face with Andre Rison. He's not going to try it with Red Cashin.
That's Bob Wagner, the umpire, talking to Red.
And here's Red Cashin. Wow.
The Falcons like to live on the edge, but they're overdoing it a little bit here in the first half.
Pass interference by the defense. First down.
It's worth the price of admission to hear Red Cashin announce the first down.
There's no doubt, is there?
No.
That first down comes down all the way from Texas.
Bryan to D.C. Bryan, Texas is Red Cashin's hometown. 1st and 10. What a huge break for the Atlanta
Absolutely.
Falcons.
Now they have to take advantage of it again with just 2:28 to go in the first half.
Well, Miller's got to find the key here. He's been throwing to the white more than the black. Motion on the right side. Flag is down. Bring this one back. No play. Happened before the snap. And that'll cost the Falcons 5 yards.
And more than that, because the pass was complete. So it appeared to be a 10-yard gain. This is going to be a 15-yard penalty.
Start. Number 75 of the offense before the ball was snapped. 5 yards, still first down.
Chris Hinton, who came along with Andre Rison to the Falcons for Jeff George. Last 9 games, only 6. In this half, 3. 1 wiped out by penalty.
And it's been a combination of things for Miller. Poor footing on one pass attempt, but he's been throwing into a zone coverage by the Redskins that appears to be confusing not only Chris, but his receivers. So many times their patterns are predicated on the reaction of the defense. Right now, they're a little bit out of sync.
1st and 15. Good blocking. Pritchard, screen pass. 3 men in front. Gets by Monty Coleman. Gets by another man and is down at the 33-yard line, a gain of 17.
This is a fantastic call by June Jones, the coordinator for the Falcons. The screen pass to the wide receiver. Watch the convoy now. He's got Freilich and Hinton and big Jamie Dukes out there. The Falcons have got some beef up front as well.
We have reached the 2-minute warning at RFK Stadium. Washington leads 14-0, but the Falcons are threatening. Remaining in the first half, Redskins up 14-0, but they have squandered numerous opportunities. Put yourself in Chris Miller's spot. You haven't played well. How do you get out of throwing these interceptions?
Well, fortunately, I've been in Chris Miller's spot. I've thrown a lot of interceptions. And the thing that Coryell would always tell me, Vern, is that, hey, keep throwing. We're going to throw it 30 or 40 more times. You got no choice but to get out of it yourself.
Critical possession for the Atlanta Falcons. They trail by 2 touchdowns. They do have a 1st and 10. Miller drills it. Caught. George Thomas makes the catch. That's a gain of 16.
That's a great thing about this type of offense, Vern, is that you have to throw the ball. They don't do anything else. With the personnel that they have, the strength of their team that we talked about is number 12 and the wide receivers. And with June Jones, the offensive coordinator, you really got to take your hat off to him, because he's one of those guys that believed in the run and shoot along with Miles Davis up there at Portland State. Before Neil Lomax got there, June was a very successful quarterback in the run and shoot. There he is with the glasses in the middle of our screen. And with all these vacancies in the NFL, as there are for the head coaching position, here's a guy that ought to get a shot as well.
June Jones, who was in Detroit.
Somewhere, Mouse Davis is sitting there watching this game with a big smile on his face, because 3 of the 8 teams in the NFL playoffs this year are running his offense, the run and shoot.
1st and 10. Falcons have 2 timeouts remaining. They trail by 14. 1:50 to go. First half. Chris Miller, by the way, is 5 of 5 on this drive. And, of course, had an interception overturned by penalty. Make it 6 of 6. Rison. It's Floyd Dixon, 86 instead of number 80. So Dixon gets the Falcons inside the 10.
That offensive line has given Miller a lot of time to throw, and he's throwing smart now. He's throwing the short passes and letting his receivers run.
Rison slot left. Miller into the end zone. Caught but out of bounds. Andre Rison.
Ball thrown just a little bit late for Rison as he caught it out of bounds. But they say that they're too legit to quit, and I think we're seeing a pretty good example of that. Miller fighting back along with his team. This team believes that no matter what the odds are, no matter what the score, is they're never out of it.
They were down by 10 in the first quarter to New Orleans last week. Chris Miller said there will never be a place louder than the Superdome last weekend, and Miller has to call timeout.
And last week was last year, Vern.
That's right. I knew I had it right.
Miller saw the play clock run down to just 2 seconds, and they have to do so much moving in this offense that he didn't have enough time to get the play off. Wisely used their second timeout.
What do you like now on 3rd and 2 at the 10-yard line?
Well, number one, you got to figure, will Glanville go for it on 4th down if they're not successful? Being the gambler that he is, it wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't go for it on 4th down. But I'd like to see some type of draw play, maybe to the left side behind Mike Ken, to at least get them in field goal position to give Glanville that option.
Well, somehow if they can get something on the board, Jerry Glanville's team in it, and that despite 3 turnovers, 3 pass interceptions, a lost fumble, another interception that was negated by penalty, a couple of missed field goals by Low Miller of the Redskins, and the Atlanta Falcons trying to climb back into this ball game. 3rd and 2, and the crowd noise starts to build. Johnson, 1st and goal at the 2-yard line.
They hit the left side, but with a quick opener behind Duke, 64, and Houston Hoover. Fine job by Freilich coming over on Marshall. That's a big gain for the Falcons. That puts them right on the doorstep.
And Washington has chosen to use one of its allotment of 3. So that stops the clock with 1:03 remaining first half. Dockers halftime report coming up at the conclusion of the first half. Greg and Terry and John Robinson back in our studio. They'll analyze the first half from their warmth and safety. And we'll have a Dallas-Detroit report for you. Richie Pettibone, defensive coordinator, Washington Redskins.
The
14-0.
The surprising thing for the Falcons offense, aside from how poorly they performed prior to this drive, is that on the ground they're averaging over 4 yards a carry. And Tracy Johnson has really fit in quite well at the lone running back. He's got 5 carries for 30 yards.
And had only 9 carries all season long. 1:03 to go first half. 1 timeout left. Jamie Dukes over the ball for the Falcons. Right side, touchdown Atlanta. That is Tracy Johnson's first touchdown this season. And the big play in this 11-play drive was a pass interference call against the Redskins that negated an interception.
Fine job by Pritchard there to occupy man just long enough for Johnson to stretch across the goal line. A lot of pride on that offensive line by the Falcons. You saw Hinton there and Freilich pushing their men away, allowing Johnson to get in for the score.
When they had to, they did it. 80 yards, 11 plays.
And guess who's looking at this one, Vern? The men upstairs, seeing where his knee touched in relationship to where the ball was.
Well, the play is ruled as a touchdown. It's being reviewed by instant replay.
I'd say give it to him.
I'd say give it to him, but I wouldn't be surprised if they don't.
Cal Lepore is the replay official upstairs.
This has been such a smooth flowing ball game, and now we have this interruption on a touchdown. Really cuts into the flow of the football game.
Do you think it'll be voted back next year?
Take a look from the rear here, Vern. Watch his left knee and right knee there. But the problem with that angle is where's the ball? He didn't stretch until he was all the way down, so they might reverse this one.
Every year it seems we hear that replay will be voted out, and every year there's some arm twisting at the league owners' meetings, and it gets put back in.
Let's take a look at it and maybe stop it when his knee goes down, and we'll see where the ball is. His knee is down right now, and the ball is short of the goal line. They're going to have to reverse this one.
Now let's see if they do. Yep.
Following a review by the replay official, we have a reversal. The ball will be placed on the 1-foot line.
Now we'll see just how the Falcons handle that interruption in their momentum. I don't think it'll bother them. I think they'll punch this one in.
Well, they've got exactly a minute left, and they do have one timeout left. So the ball placed on the 1-foot line. Johnson's knee ruled to a touchdown before the ball crossed the plane. Try it again. Touchdown. He went over Freilich and Hinton just as he had done before.
Exact same play. Glanville told us they only have 4 or 5 running plays in their entire offense. Watch him hit this right side. From the right side of the screen, Brad Edwards is going to come up with a big hit there. And Gavea. Edwards just a little bit late. Watch 54 and 27. But 43 in the black shirt is in across the goal line for the score.
Norm Johnson is on to try the extra point that would cut the lead in half. Scott Fulhaig will hold it. Kick is good. And somehow, when they absolutely had to, the Atlanta Falcons go 80 yards in 12 plays and slice the lead in half. It's getting a little nastier. 14-7. Washington leads it. Wilbur Marshall chatting with the officials during the timeout. Wishing each other Happy New Year, no doubt. The wind still gusting 30 to 39 miles an hour, and the rain has not subsided this afternoon.
That was a heck of a drive for the Falcons. They were aided, of course, by that pass interference call, but still Chris Miller fighting back from disastrous first and second quarter, hit 6 out of 7 on that drive for 72 yards.
Tracy Johnson got it the second time after the replay officials had reversed the play. And now Norm Johnson will kick it off.
Not a lot of teams will drive 80 yards on the Redskins, and not a lot of teams can drive 80 yards against the Redskins here at RFK and in these conditions.
14-7 with 57 seconds to go in the first half of play. Very short, taken by Brian Mitchell. And hauled down by Tracy Johnson, who scored the touchdown, but because of the short kick, the ball is going to be spotted at the 36-yard line. Well, the Falcons have ducked in this duck-like weather most of the afternoon. They've had 4 turnovers, but Lohmiller has missed 2 field goals. They had 1 interception called back because of the pass interference call, and then they go 80 yards into the wind and get a touchdown just before halftime.
I'm not sure I like that call on that short kickoff here, because Lohmiller has one of the strongest legs in the NFL. although he's been wide right twice today.
52 seconds, and the Redskins have a couple of timeouts left. Rippon, screen pass, left side to Biner. 2 men in front. McKenzie leads the way, and so does Bostic. And Biner out of bounds to kill the clock at the 48-yard line.
Heads-up call again by Gibbs, but a real heads-up play by Biner, getting as much as he can, using his interference, and then stepping out of bounds, saving those 2 timeouts.
1st and 10. Mark Rippon, 9 of 19 for 126. Intercepted 1 time. Three-man rush, drop 8. Irvins gets by Brian Jordan, and then runs into Jesse Tuggle. And we'll see if they use a timeout now. They have done so. So 1 timeout remaining for the Washington Redskins. They have a 14-7 lead, 35 seconds to go first half. And they are at midfield. Don't forget Greg and Terry and John Robinson back in our studio at halftime. Look forward to tomorrow's game, Dallas and Detroit. What a dandy that ought to be. Of course, if the Redskins do hold on and win here, they will be at home next week. That's the reason you play all season long, to get that home field advantage. Jerry Glanville's team trying to win here for the first time in the 25-year history of the Atlanta Falcons.
Talked about how strong Lohmiller's leg is. This year he's hit a 53-yarder. His career best is a 56-yarder. But to get him comfortable around that 45-yard range, the Redskins need to move the ball about 21 more yards.
Well, he hit that 53-yarder and then came back in the same quarter to hit a 52-yarder. That was the Monday night game in Dallas. 2 of plus 50 in the same quarter for Chip Lohmiller.
Playing in good weather on AstroTurf, a little different than what he's facing today.
I don't think Tom Dempsey's record is in jeopardy today. That's 63 yards years ago, when both Dan and I were young. Irvins. Oh, boy! First down at the 37. And it looks like Lohmiller will get a chance.
Now Rippon should kill this clock right now and get another play.
Nope. Clark. Deion Sanders, fine defensive job.
That play there may have saved the Falcons 3 points. Watch this job of Sanders coming over with the finesse move of the left hand, just knocking the ball away at the last moment. That's why he's all pro. Just deflected it enough to keep Clark from making the grab.
With 12 seconds left, the officials have stopped play for the moment. They've got a problem with the chain on the far side. Got a knot in the chain. Hate when that happens.
The Gremlins are down there playing with the chain.
You got wind and rain and knot in your chain. Not a pleasant triumvirate. 2nd down. 12 seconds to go. Rippon, Irvins. 5 seconds remaining, and Lohmiller will come on. Tackle is made by Brian Jordan. Clock is stopped. Final timeout. 5 seconds to go. And Chip Lohmiller, who is 0 of 2 today.
Talk about Gary Clark's ability to catch the ball over the middle, but this is why he is regarded as the toughest receiver in football. Watch after the catch by Irvins. Clark goes in and makes a key block on Tuggle, and that gives Irvins a hole to get down the field 5 more yards. That could mean the world of difference for Lohmiller right now.
44 yards will be the attempt. And now there's another stoppage of play. I think they're going to dry the ball off or get a new one. Not surprising Glanville didn't care for that act of kindness and human charity.
He will have his say in this forum or any others.
44 yards. Nope. 0 for 3. The Falcons are going to go in and listen to some hammer music. They're in it.
They're going to turn it up.
It's 14-7. The Redskins at halftime. That's the end of the first half with our score 14-7 Washington.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football Conference Divisional Playoff is sponsored by Honda. Test drive a Honda at your local dealer today. Magnavox, the ingenious products from Magnavox. They're smart, very smart. And by Coors Light, the silver bullet is the right beer now. The National Football Conference Divisional Playoff is sponsored by 3M, worldwide sponsor of the 1992 Olympic Games. McDonald's, getting more for your money. That's McDonald's today. And by today's Duracell, the copper top battery.
14-7 Washington at halftime. They should have led by more than that. Chip Lohmiller with 3 misses. And as the wind and the rain continue, Dan, the condition on the field is going to deteriorate, don't you feel?
You know, it's almost a case. You talked about playing this game back in the 20s. I think our field goal kickers would be better off if they were just straight-on kickers, because they wouldn't have to take that huge plant that has given Lohmiller problems. As Terry mentioned, when you force that step, you slide a little bit and the ball will stay out to the right. Lohmiller likes to hook the ball into the middle, but his 3 misses have all been wide right.
Do you agree with Jerry Glanville that momentum is on the Falcon side of the ball?
They have to be feeling very good about themselves. They should be down by 25 points or 28 or whatever, only down by 7. And the important thing is they got that big drive, that 80-yard drive at the end of the first half to cut the score in half.
Statistically at halftime, the Falcons have somehow overcome 4 turnovers. They had another negated by a pass interference call. Total yards 225 to 141.
And only 7 points off those 4 turnovers. That's not what the coach had in mind. You can't ask any more of your defense than what Pettibone's defense has given Gibbs' offense so far today. It's such a morale killer when your offense doesn't take advantage of those turnovers and convert them into points.
Graphically demonstrated by the starting field position for the Redskins, their own 45. And despite that, 14 points. Washington will get the ball to start the second half. And a lot of folks with more sense than emotion have stayed inside for the second half. There's some empty seats now.
They'll be back.
You're right. Norm Johnson will kick off for the Falcons. 14-7 Washington. Mitchell to the 20, breaks the tackle. And Ken Tippins makes contact and downs him at the 38-yard line. That's a return of 35 yards for Brian Mitchell. And the pleasant conversations continue on the field.
And a lot of the attention, you see Robert Lyles is back. That's a good sign for the Falcons. But a lot of the attention has gone to Deion Sanders and his kick returning ability. But Mitchell is among the leaders in his own right as the Redskins open up the second half, as they did the first half with the no-huddle offense.
Ripping 50% in the first half. First down and 10. Hands it off. Ernest Biner on the right side. And they will hustle back and try and line up again. The Falcons do send in defensive substitutions.
Want to get their nickel personnel in the game because the Redskins have the posse in there, and we're in a passing formation now.
2nd and 7. 14-7. Washington leads it. They test the left side, and Biner out of the tackle of Jesse Tuggle for a yard or two. Ernest Biner, 1,000 yards this season, second consecutive. What a trade that was for the Redskins when they sent Mike Oliphant to the Cleveland Browns for Ernest Biner.
And Biner has paid him off with 2 straight 1,000-yard rushing seasons.
12 rushes today for 54 yards. And Stephen Hobbs is a late addition to the Redskin offensive huddle.
And they better hustle. It's down under 10 seconds to go on the play clock.
Monk in motion. They just did get the ball snapped. Rippon. Incomplete at the 50. They'll have to punt. Tracy Eaton, number 32, with the defensive effort.
And Art Monk took his eye off the ball, and he looked at Eaton. That's why he dropped that one. Eaton coming with the big hit. Monk would have had the first down.
Kelly Goodburn back to punt for the 3rd time. We've not seen an all-out Atlanta rush. Deion Sanders signaled fair catch on 1. Low snap. Here comes the rush. And it's a line drive punt. Sanders will let it roll. And it's beneficial for the Redskins. It limps to a stop at the 17-yard line. John Brandis has been having trouble with the snap, and this one rolled back to Kelly Goodburn.
It's about a 3-hopper to Goodburn. He does a great job of getting rid of it, as Eaton almost got his left hand on it, and the ball rolled all the way inside the 20-yard line. But this is not a good start for the Redskins here in the second half. You talk about momentum. The fans are trying to whip the Redskins into shape, but right now the Falcons have got that momentum we talked about.
Well, despite 4 turnovers, they gave up only 14 points. They went 80 yards right before halftime, got a touchdown from Tracy Johnson, and now they have the ball back. Opening drive for Atlanta in the second half. Miller slips and falls. That'll be a sack. That's not a coverage sack. That's a weather sack.
Yeah, the puddle got him right about the 10-yard line. You can draw up all kinds of pass patterns and pass protection, but if the field is as bad as this one is, there's just no way a mobile quarterback such as Chris Miller can deal with this terrible footing. This really hurts the Falcons because Chris is one of the better quarterbacks, especially in this offense, of moving around and finding receivers down the field.
The intensity of the rain increases. 2 seconds on the play clock. Miller's going to have to hurry. Gets it called. Johnson stuffed. It'll be 3rd and 17 at the 10-yard line. You know, we talked about how loose this Atlanta Falcon team is. Yesterday, on the plane coming up from Atlanta, there was a clothing contest between the wide receivers and the defensive backs.
I think you call them fashion shows, Vern.
Well, clothing contest, fashion show.
And it was between the wide receivers and the defensive backs, judged by the offensive line.
Chris Hinton was the ultimate judge. He made it 50-49. He said the DBs were penalized because Tim McKyer did not have a cuff on his pants and wore a plastic belt. 50-49, wide receivers won it. It'll be 4th down.
And how important was that weather sack, as you called it on first down, Vern? Miller falling in the mud puddle down there, and then 2 straight handoffs for absolutely nothing.
Well, again, the Redskins are going to come out of this in terrific shape. Their problem is an inability to do anything with that good field position. Scott Fulhaig is back in the end zone. His 4th punt. Brian Mitchell waits at the 48. Short. Mitchell. Yard line. average better than 13 yards per punt return this season. This one, 27 yards.
He makes a great catch on the one hop there. And now, because it was a low kick, there's just not enough black shirts down the field. And then the determination of Mitchell puts the ball inside the 20-yard line.
Special teams coach Bobby April for the Falcons. And Mark Rippon, who is really having only an average day. He hands it off to Irvins, goes right, and they gain a couple to the 17-yard line.
Special teams play is so magnified in the playoff games and in games where the weather is a factor. Already today we've seen Chip Lohmiller miss 3 field goals, and now it becomes a battle of field position as Goodburn gets off a fantastic punt on a bad snap, and the Redskins get the big return from Brian Mitchell.
2nd and 9, 10:22 to go, third quarter, 14-7. Washington leads it, heavily favored in this game. Rippon, that's coverage downfield, and he somehow underarms that ball and gets it to Ricky Irvins for a modest gain. It'll be 3rd and about 6.
Got a flag down in the secondary. Question is, was a offensive lineman downfield? This was a screen pass all the way. Rippon had to hold it a long time.
And that is the call, preliminary signal.
You really can't blame those offensive linemen because they have no idea if the quarterback is forced to hold this ball. But good coverage by the Falcons as they smelled out that screen pass and forced the Redskins down.
Ineligible man downfield, number 69 of the offense. 10 yards, still 2nd down.
Here's Schlereth right here, and watch as he comes out on the screen how long Rippon has to hold this ball before he delivers it to Ricky Irvins. The coverage here on the outside as Irvins just gets caught up in the defensive lineman. Rick Bryan with the play there, and there you see not only Schlereth, but Bostic was downfield.
Jim Lachey, by the way, is back in the lineup playing with a knee sprain. That's good news for the Redskins. 2nd down and 19. 14-7 is the score. Washington leads it. 4-man rush this time. Rippon deep left side, man open, caught Art Monk. And belted out of bounds by Scott Case in front of Deion Sanders.
Vern, when I played in San Diego with Charlie Joyner, Art Monk is on the outside here, and he's going to run the deep comeback route as I draw terribly. But the thing about Charlie and Art Monk is they're like security blankets for a quarterback. You always know they're going to find a spot in that secondary to pick up a big play.
3rd and 1. 3rd and 2 make it officially. Irvins, oh, I don't know. I don't know. And if they don't get the first down, given the problems Lohmiller, oh, they got it. So it's not a conversation worth pursuing. He did get the first down.
Well, let's pursue it anyway. I think Gibbs would have gone for it on 4th down. Because even if you don't make it down here, you're forcing Atlanta to take over deep in their own end on a very sloppy field.
Irvins again. Gets by Tim Green. Slips another tackle. Case bumps him out of bounds. Inside the 5.
You know, Ricky wears that number 32. He went to USC, and probably the greatest running back on a bad field that I've ever seen is O.J. Simpson. Ricky Irvins putting on a pretty good show here for just a rookie, 3rd-round pick from SC.
Boy, he talked about getting a wide base. He doesn't need to obtain much. He's got one to start with.
200 pounds on just 5'7". It's coming in handy for him right now as the Redskins set up inside the 5.
And again, they call on the short yardage specialist, Gerald Riggs. He is the deep man in the eye. It's Riggs. And here's erstwhile teammates jam him up. It'll be 3rd down.
Easy to pick out, Riggs. He's got the cleanest uniform out there. Interesting now with the ball on about the 1 or 2 yard line that Gibbs elects to bring in his wide receiver package and take out his jumbo guys of Middleton, Warren, and Russ Grimm. Actually, Warren's going to stay in, but they still have the posse in there.
Miner is the running back. He lines up on the right side. 3rd down and goal. That's Clark in motion coming back. And a flag has been thrown. Delay of game, 5 yards, Washington. Tim Green celebrates.
Delay by the offense, no play, 5 yards, still 3rd down.
Really question that use of personnel by Gibbs. I'm not really sure if he knew exactly where the ball was on the field, whether it was that close to the end zone or not. But now he's forced into using a passing formation now, although he comes in with his 3 tight ends. So it's a real guessing game here. But one of those tight ends is Terry Orr, who's caught 4 touchdown passes this year.
Now, Middleton was in the huddle and then came out. Terry Orr came in. 3rd and goal, 7:07 to go. 3rd quarter. Mark in motion. Ripping back, pumps once, twice. Incomplete. It'll be 4th down. Gary Clark, the intended receiver.
Well, this is what Rippon is trying to find, is Clark in the middle. He's got Monk to the corner, but with just a 3-man rush, the 8-man secondary is just too much for Clark and Rippon. He had a lot of time to throw, but not a lot of room to throw the ball in.
Lohmiller tries to get his first in 4 attempts, 24 yards out, and he does manage to end the goose egg. Chip Lohmiller from 24, and that increases the Redskin lead 17-7. One of the reasons I find such pleasure in doing what I do for a living, meeting young men like Tim Green, bright, literate, graduate of Syracuse, and really a fiery football player.
During the commercial, he was going up and down the sidelines, patting people on the back, and really giving Chris Miller a boost.
Deion Sanders, touchback. So the Falcons have it back. They trail by 10, 17-7. Well, if you don't have a clothesline available, you use what's ever available for the wet laundry.
It's really smart. You dry your gloves off, and not only does it get them dry, it warms your hands up when you put them back on.
Or other parts of your anatomy.
I wish I'd thought about that in Cincinnati one year.
About 40 below, as I recall.
At least.
Out of the shotgun, 17-7. Rain has increased again. Miller slips again. Fires it left side, incomplete. And Chris Miller gets up a little muddier than he was when he went down. Well,
now he's got to worry about getting his hands dry and getting him free of mud. But he does slip again as he sets. But being the good athlete that he is, he righted himself to get rid of that one, but then he takes the nosedive into the muck and mire.
Why do I think if John Madden is watching this, he is loving it? John and Pat, of course, will be with you in Detroit tomorrow. Dallas and Detroit. Winner of that game plays the winner of this one for the NFC Championship. Miller got Pritchard, first down at the 35. Wilbur Marshall with the tackle. That's a gain of 15, and Marshall gestures toward the Atlanta bench.
One thing that the Falcons have not been able to do is get the ball to Michael Haynes yet. He has 0 catches. Pritchard now has 3 and Rison 5. but their big weapon has been taken away by a combination of Darrell Green's tight coverage and the zone defenses of the Redskins.
Michael Haynes, the hero of last week's win in New Orleans. And a man of blazing speed, perhaps negated on this field. There's Risen. Out to the 43 where you could hear the collision.
One thing a player such as Risen has to worry about, obviously, is his footing, but also pulling a muscle out here, trying to make too many moves. This is real dangerous field, and Risen would be well advised to forget about running for a touchdown, get as much yardage straight up the field as he possibly can.
Andre Rison, who in regular season this year came up with 81 catches. He has 215 in his first 3 years, more than any other player after 3 years in the history of the league, surpassing Sterling Sharp of Green Bay and Tom Fears, who played a couple of years ago. Miller, incomplete. He went for Haynes this time. Michael Haynes, who took a circuitous route to the National Football League, graduated from Clark High School in New Orleans, and then went to Eastern Arizona Junior College. Followed some classmates who played football. He only played in the band and ran track. We asked him yesterday exactly where is Thatcher. Oh, it's easy. It's a 2.5-hour drive east of Phoenix.
And then he went to Northern Arizona, which is the other direction.
Third down. Caught. First down. Mike Pritchard. So it has been the rookie from Colorado, along with Andre Rison, who has supplied the most potent offensive force so far today.
Talk about a big third down conversion there. A fresh set of downs for Miller to work with, trailing only by 10 points.
4:35 remaining.
See, Miller's got his ear holes taped shut. That's to keep the wind from whistling in there, making it easier for him to hear.
How about keeping the crowd out? Draw play. Eric Pegram. Just a couple. Kurt Gavea playing in place of Matt Milling. It is not pleasant. Tim Green is thinking back to those collegiate days in the warmth of Syracuse in December.
Playing indoors at the Carrier Dome, a little bit different than what we're seeing here.
That guy needs fashion help. We ought to get him with Chris Hinton.
Well, you see Duke's rolling the ball around in the mud. I don't think Miller's going to like that.
Miller, Pritchard, first down at the 37-yard line. And Freilich and Johnson having a quiet conversation. That is a gain of 13 for the Falcons.
But you know, Duke has to get a good grip on this ball too for this short snap from center. Perfect snap as he dead balls it to Miller's right hand. But the protection is there again for Miller, and Pritchard's having a big day working across the middle.
Mike Pritchard, the rookie from Colorado. Wilbur Marshall coming in late just to make sure he stayed down in the battle in the trenches. That's Freilich and Johnson. And it's 1st and 10. Out of the shotgun again. Rison at the 30.
Rison picked up a little mud and threw it back at the guys that tackled him. We're talking about Sandlot here. He was driven down head first into the mud and picked up a handful and threw it at the guys. I'm not sure there's a penalty in the NFL for that.
Mud throwing.
Yeah. This is really a grudge match.
Jesse Ventura ought to be here.
He would love it. Watch Rison as he's driven back by Edwards and Gavea. He'll pick up a little bit of mud and toss it out. Illegal use of mud.
Miller down at the 40. third sack. The ancient wonder, Monty Coleman, who said last night he wants to play 15 years in this league, which means he needs 2 more.
He came up with probably the biggest play here so far, because that puts Atlanta in a 3rd and long situation, and Miller will be facing a secondary that will drop 7.
1:38 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Outlaws are gaining on the posse. That's not the way it's supposed to be. Every Western I've seen, it went the other way. Jason Phillips down at the 29. It'll be 4th down. And I would expect Norm Johnson to come on. He has been perfect inside 45 yards this season.
But he won't have a tougher attempt than this one coming up.
17 of 17 inside 45 for the regular season. 2 of 2 on the artificial surface in the dry climate of the Superdome last week. And this will be exactly 45. Acquired week 3 after being placed on waivers by Seattle. Full Haig to hold. First miss from that distance. Understandable.
It looked like a carbon copy of the 3 Lohmiller misses. Good snap, good hold, but the ball just stays wide right. Well, this is what it's all about when you're a kid playing in the mud. Jason Phillips gets the piggyback ride from Charles Mann.
Never want to take the child out of the man, and they have it here. First down and 10. Biner, Tuggle. Nothing.
Another big hit from Jesse Tuggle. Gibbs says he's the best middle linebacker in football. That is saying a mouthful as we end a 3rd quarter that moved along quite rapidly, Vern.
Did indeed. Only 3 points scored in the quarter. Those by Chip Lohmiller, the short field goal. And they will allow the quarter to expire. Mike Pritchard attending to a sore left ankle. Pritchard with 5 catches so far. That's the end of the 3rd quarter from RFK Stadium. 17-7. Redskins up over Atlanta by 10. Washington Redskins at home leading the Atlanta Falcons 17-7. Atlanta has had problems in the 4th quarter in regular season, having been outscored 126-84. And they are also trying to win here for the first time ever. 2nd down. Redskins have it. 15 minutes to go. Winner gets either Dallas or Detroit. That is in the liner. And it's a moderate gain.
And you think that would be bad news, the fact that they've been outscored in the 4th quarter. Well, the real bad news is that the Redskins have outscored their opponents all year by 90 points in the 4th quarter.
Wake-up call.
Think about having the odds against you, but that's exactly where Glanville and the Falcons want to be.
Well, and under Joe Gibbs, the Redskins have lost at home in the playoffs just once. Chicago Bears beat them here in 1984. That's it. And they have a 10-point edge and the ball. 3-man rush by the Falcons. Rippon deep left side for Clark, incomplete. And it'll be 4th down, and so Atlanta will get it back. Well, we've talked about the difference in the reputations, the perceptions of the two teams. It begins with the head coaches, of course. Last night, Dan and I met with Joe Gibbs at Redskin Park about 8:30, dressed in a coat and tie. He was going to a chapel service. Then we went back to our hotel where the Falcons were staying. And who was in the lobby dressed in black? Not Johnny Cash. That man.
That man and his partner, Jerry Jeff Walker, putting on a very impromptu country western concert in the lobby.
Entertained until long past players' curfew. Glanville said he didn't have one for himself. Flags are down. I should say he doesn't have one for himself. And how did they spend New Year's Eve? Here's the the penalty call.
False start. Number 99 of the offense before the ball was snapped. 5 yards, still 4th down.
Jason Buck is guilty of the call.
Red can barely keep his eyes open for the rain that's falling.
Talked about Jerry Glanville on New Year's Eve back in Atlanta. Had a buddy pick him up and said they went out for a little while. The buddy was Hank Williams Jr.
Went to 3 different clubs where they were charging a modest cover charge, just $2. And who do they get to see perform but Bo Cephas?
Low snap. Got it away. Good one. Deion Sanders at the 31. Got some room. Not enough. Down at the 41-yard line. Here comes the late flag. 16 on the return of a 43-yard punt. And it's against Atlanta.
Boy, big mistake on the special teams. Sanders had a very good return, but it's going to be pushed back 10 yards for the illegal block.
During the run back. Number 41 of the receivers. Be a 10-yard penalty. 1st down at 10.
Look of dismay on the face of the special teams coach, Bobby April. We'll return to RFK Stadium after this message from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Minutes remaining, NFC Divisional playoff game. The Washington Redskins led by 7 at the half. They've increased it to 10, but Chris Miller and the Falcons have the football at their own 32-yard line. Last 3 drives for Chris Miller.
Well, we talked about how do you overcome all those interceptions, and Chris has done quite well by just hanging in there and throwing the ball.
Looks like he's bored. Taking a big yawn.
That's one of those anxiety yawns.
There seems to be a problem of communications with the replay booth, and they're checking those out.
Oh, no, let's not fix it, though.
Let it be.
Let's not waste time fixing that. We got a great game going here. The one thing about the crowd noise and how it affects Miller, he says it really doesn't give his offense that many problems because they don't audible a lot, especially in the 4 wide receiver package that they like to go with. They have so many routes that are adjusted on the run by the receivers. It's not up to Miller to change the play at the line of scrimmage that often.
1st and 10, Atlanta. Down by 10. Mayhew backs off on the near side. That pass is caught by Michael Haynes, and then he fumbles. Redskin ball in the arms of Wilbur Marshall. 5 Atlanta turnovers.
And this may have been Miller's best throw of the day. A long out pattern to Michael Haynes. And he has to squeeze it between defenders here. There's the catch. And then the hit from the backside by Andre Collins, and Wilbur Marshall with another takeaway for the Redskins.
5 Atlanta turnovers. They had 6 in losing 56-17 here before. And gosh, Dan, I think they may have gotten the communications fixed to the replay booth.
Yeah, look what they did, Vern. Bob Wagner now has a walkie-talkie in his hand there. And they're reviewing
on the field,
it.
We have a catch, a fumble, a recovery by the defense. The play is being reviewed by instant replay.
Yeah, that's what they're using.
Now he wants somebody to turn it on for him so that he can communicate. Watch this catch, and then the hit by number 55, Collins, as he drills Haynes in the back and pops it loose. Now, what are they reviewing? Obviously a catch. Haynes made the catch, turned around and got hit, and then was
calling to review by the replay official. The play stands.
Absolutely.
First down.
And I think it was Kurt Gavea who got the hit. There it is. And the play does stand. 5 turnovers. And first down and 10, Washington. at the 48-yard line. Ricky Irvin's in the lineup.
Well, that 5th turnover could be the one that does in this Falcon group. Sure, we have 13.5 minutes to go, but the Redskins are working now a field position game. They have the ball inside of Atlanta territory, and they'll be real content to take time off the clock and push the Falcons deeper.
They stay in with the 2 tight ends, Warren and Middleton. Gary Orr is in at the spot normally occupied by the fullback. Ken Tippins with the tackle of Ricky Irvins. That'll bring up 3rd down. Tippins, who spent some time with the Dallas Cowboys before winding up in Atlanta. And of course, Dallas and Detroit play tomorrow, 3:30 Eastern time on CBS. John and Pat are there, and they'll play on 2 of John Madden's least favorite things. He hates artificial surface and indoor stadiums.
Yeah, John, if you're listening, eat your heart out. We're having a ball here in the mud and rain and wind and dirt.
Mike Ken, 14 years in the league, hoping to play one more game at least this year, but his team needs to stiffen. Here's Rippon. That's caught, and it might be enough to move the chain. Very close. Gary Clark.
They're going to give it to him with forward progress here.
Well, we talked about Johnny Pat and the rest of our crew in Detroit tomorrow. Of course, the All-Madden team will be announced January 19th at 5 o'clock. It's the 8th annual All-Madden team.
And John awards some of the most beautiful trophies to the members of the All-Madden team. And those trophies and plaques are made by a former teammate of mine, Big Ed White, a closet artist in his own right.
And a former coach with the San Diego Chargers.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
There's a lot of former coaches around nowadays.
Irvins inside the 40 at the 38. The clock is down to 11:30 remaining in the ball game.
Yeah, and you're noticing no quick huddles for the Redskins. Time is of the essence now for Rippon, as he'll run the play clock down to inside 5 seconds. And this is unusual because there's 11 minutes to go in the game, but with 10 points down and this bad field and wind, tough for the Falcons to get back in it if the Redskins score here.
That 5th turnover may have been the night. Irvins, and he is stopped short of the 1st down at the 35-yard line. And the clock at 10:45 and winding down. Redskins heavily favored, 14-2 for the year. Under Joe Gibbs, of course, they have won 2 Super Bowls, favored to win it again this year.
We talked about how they led the league in 3rd down conversions, hitting over 50%. Well, today they're right around 33%. And this is a big one coming up.
3rd and 4. 10:15 to go in the ball game. Big play. 1st down, Ricky Irvins.
This is why they call them the Hogs. They are at home here in this pigsty. McKenzie and Lachey on the counter tray, the trademark play of the Washington Redskins. And a big 1st down for Ricky Irvins.
Where do they go after the game?
Anywhere they want.
Not those guys, the other guys. Washington will go with 3 tight ends. Mark Schlereth will play in the Pro Bowl this year. This will be the 7th play of the drive, and they've chewed up 4.5 already. And the clock shows 9:15 to go.
And every time the ball is snapped and they run a running play, they're taking 40 seconds off that clock. So every time you convert a 3rd down, that's 2 minutes. And
they'll let it wind down now. Mark Rippon. Mark is Couldn't have picked a better time to have a great year. Rippon, Leslie told you on the NFL Today, he spent $20,000 buying watches for his linemen. He's got a new contract coming up.
And the first name he mentioned when we talked to him about his contract was thank you, Dan, as in Dan Marino, for raising the ceiling a bit.
Right. You like to have the curve going up. Rippon, backfield, hit incomplete for Gary Clark. It'll be third down. Clark also spent the holidays here. Of course, the Redskins had the week off, and he is from Canada originally, but he flew his mom and 2 brothers and a sister-in-law and a sister down here to spend the Christmas holidays with the Rippon family. Anticipating a little larger paycheck next year.
Yeah, that $20,000 that he forked out to buy Rolexes is going to look like chump change when he gets through.
Redskins only 5 of 13 today. Clock at 8:28, 3rd and 9. All-out blitz. Rippon reads it. First down at the 15. Perfect. In front of Deion Sanders. Gary Clark with the catch.
This is 3 straight third down conversions for the 14-2, soon to be 15-2 Redskins. Good patience by Clark. Pushes off just a touch, and then the perfect low throw by Rippon makes it an easy grab for this very wet Gary Clark.
There are a couple of decent football players coming for a rest. Art Monk, Gary Clark. 1st and 10, Washington. 7:48 remaining.
Deion had perfect coverage. It was just a perfect throw by Rippon.
Irvins inside the 10. Or just at the 10. See where they spot it.
We talked about how Glanville said that being beaten by 39 points by the Redskins 2 months ago was a case of the Redskins trying to break the spirit of the Falcons and trying to touch their soul. A little cowboy poetry. Well, right now, that spirit is being broken by a powerful Redskin offense.
Is sponsored by Budweiser.
Take a look at the second line. 5 Atlanta turnovers. Amazingly, they have led to only 7 Washington points. But that has been a big, big factor in the game. Chip Lohmiller has missed 3 field goals. And now the Redskins, leading by 10 with 7:31 to go, have a second down at the Atlanta 10-yard line. And they will keep it on the ground again. Ricky Irvins down to the 7-yard line.
We may be seeing a changing of the guard for the Redskins on this drive. It has been Ricky Irvins. In fact, today, he's been the main guy on the ground for the Redskins. 77 yards now on 18 carries. And Gibbs is putting the ball in his hand on this all-important drive.
Time has been called by the Atlanta Falcons. They have 1 left.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football Conference Divisional Playoff is sponsored by Chrysler Corporation, proud sponsor of the 1992 U.S. Olympic team. AT&T, proud sponsor of the 1992 U.S. Olympic team. And by Budweiser, nothing beats a Bud.
Getting a little murky there, a couple of thousand feet above RFK, and the rain continues, though it's lessened a little bit. 7:24 remaining. How about the work of the offensive line of the Washington Redskins on this drive?
Well, they've been perfect on third down conversions, 3 for 3, and they've really taken over. We've seen the counter tray play. Irvins has carried 8 times in this drive for 29 yards, but it's been those hogs up front that are doing the job.
3rd and 3. Rippon will throw. He hasn't been sacked yet today. Had Irvins, who was going backwards, and a flag is down.
Deep in the end zone where Terry Orr was trying to get open.
Defensive holding, that'll be a first down.
21 on the offense.
Okay, say it, Red.
Distance to the goal. First down.
It's one of my 2 favorite calls. The other one was Ben Bright. That's 15 yards. He's given him the business.
Glanville has been criticized for his team lacking discipline. This is only the 3rd penalty of the day against the Falcons, but that will probably do it for Glanville as the Redskins take over inside the 5 with a fresh set of downs.
113 penalties in regular season. Gerald Riggs is the deep back in the eye. It's Riggs to the 1. .7:05 to go.
And they started this drive about 6.5 minutes ago after the 5th turnover, Michael Haynes' fumble.
138 yards on the ground for the Redskins today. And they are up by 10. At home next week against either Dallas or Detroit. Detroit, of course, lost here 45-0 game number 1. The Cowboys won here week number 11. Riggs. And that should put the period to the paragraph. And a dagger in the heart of the Atlanta Falcon hopes.
Well, we're getting showered by seat cushions and placards and everything.
Who started that?
I'll tell you, this will be the last time they hand out anything free that can be thrown.
What was the signal?
I think it was touchdown. It's going to take him an hour to pick them all up.
Looks like somebody spilled mustard.
I think there's a flag down on the field, Vern, but I couldn't tell you where or what it was for.
Thirteen plays, 52 yards, 7:20 on the clock, and Chip Lohmiller's extra point to come. Nice hold by Jeff Rutledge. Nice run by Gerald Riggs.
This is Riggs' 13th touchdown rushing of the year, and also the 13th play of this drive, and this will ensure the Redskins will play next Sunday. Off the left side behind Donnie Warren at fullback and Lachey. A lot of beef over there. Russ Grimm, number 68. And the victory dances and all the seat cushions are coming.
Ron Middleton looks like a heavyweight Deion Sanders.
He'll never make it in any hammer wrap, though, with that move.
Redskins are at home next week. How will the field be? Let's go down to Pat O'Brien.
All right, Vern, thank you. And Tony Burnett, you got your hands full for next week. How bad is the field?
Oh, the field's really not. We don't anticipate it being that bad. We're going to pray for a better weather forecast, naturally, but we're already starting. We're pumping the field down right now. We're going to cover it up and pump it down, and we'll come in tomorrow and start working on it.
Feel good about this, then?
Well, we're winning with this field. I don't know. Maybe this is the type of field we need here. I don't know, but we're certainly going to work on it and try to produce the best field we can.
Have a nice week. Thank you. You guys, I got to go pick up some seat cushions. I'll see you later.
Okay, Pat. Sounds like the groundskeeper knows Al Davis. Keep it muddy. Sanders. And he slips as he was about to break loose.
There was one man between Sanders and the goal line, and that was the kicker, Chip Lohmiller. And that muddy field made the tackle. Happy New Year.
Have been pushed off the field and around the playing surface 24/7. Washington Redskins will be at home, and the season will come to an end for the Atlanta Falcons. 5-5 after losing here by 39. Won 5 in a row, lost in Dallas, won in New Orleans last week. Only the second playoff win ever for the franchise. The last was in 1978. But they haven't had the ball enough in the fourth quarter to matter. Here's Miller. That one is incomplete. And Sidney Johnston made sure it was. Chris Miller was telling us last night, Dan, the one thing he hated about losing that game 56-17 here, even though he didn't play, was hearing "Hail to the Redskins" sung by these fans 8 different times after every touchdown.
I can relate to that, Vern. Going back to my college days at the University of Oregon, we played Oklahoma in Norman, and they played Boomer Sooner after every time they scored, and their band was right behind our bench. Well, they scored 68 points. I learned all 12 verses of that stupid song one day.
2nd and 10. Chased by Fred Stokes. Caught by Fred Stokes. That's the 4th sack. And the celebration begins on the Redskin bench. They are at home next week against either Dallas or Detroit. They'll be favored no matter the opponent. I get a sense they would just as soon have Detroit come in here.
There's something about Dallas. These fans know it. They've been chanting, "We want Dallas. We want Dallas," in the timeout.
And Joe Gibbs is turning around saying, "No, no."
There's no way the Redskins want to play the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are going to beat Detroit tomorrow, and that's exactly what we'll see next week. A fantastic game between a couple of bitter rivals.
Dallas and Detroit in the Silver Dome tomorrow, where the Lions, not to put them to sleep too quickly, are 8-0 this year. Incomplete for Miller. And of course that game tomorrow at 3:30. This is hammer time, not the kind of hammer time you wanted.
But that shows me a lot. The hammer stuck around. He could have easily gotten in one of those big old limos and taken a hike, but he is too legit to quit. Oh boy, I wish I hadn't said that.
I wish you hadn't either. Here's Chris Miller.
Oh, the frustration. Rough day for Chris Miller.
17 of 31 for 178. 4th and 19. And not to do, but go for it. Intercepted. Monty Coleman. How appropriate for this veteran leader of the Redskin team. An 11th round draft choice out of Central Arkansas in 9. Oh, Brandis has got it down.
Miller just trying to make something happen, not quitting, had a receiver, but with the field conditions and a slippery ball and the wind, this ball gets out of spiral, and it's an easy interception for Coleman.
Hand off to Ricky Irvins down to the 41. In the 2 games played between these 2 teams, Atlanta and Washington, 6 turnovers today, 6 in week 10.
And we're seeing the perfect example of why you try so hard during the regular season to get the home field advantage. The run and shoot just cannot handle these type of weather conditions. And when you combine that with a fantastic defensive game plan by Richie Pettibone, too much for the Falcons to overcome.
2nd down and 4. Here's Irvins again. Searching to the outside. 1st down, Washington.
Heads up play by Irvins for a rookie, sliding, not going out of bounds, keeping the clock rolling. gave up some yardage to keep the clock rolling. That's a veteran play by Ricky Irvins. Watch, he sees the sideline coming up, and he's going to take the dive right here for us and keep that clock going.
Save.
You notice he's keeping his head out of the water.
Darn, well, he could drown.
That's that pop-up slide.
Ricky Irvins, injury problems at Southern Cal, third-round draft choice. Joe Gibbs said Charlie Casserly put together films of the 7 or 8 running backs they were considering. And this is the man they selected, and boy, has he paid big dividends for them. Ricky Irvins.
And they remembered Ricky's performance in the Rose Bowl. But the Redskins have made a lot of right moves to be in this position.
Said out in Southern California, he had no idea he was going to be coming to the Redskins. He was, a year ago this weekend, he was pulling for the New York Giants and Bill Parcells.
And I'm sure that his teammates will forgive him for a little while. But one of the interesting things, though, yesterday when we were talking to him, he's just a rookie. You got to remember that. Monty Coleman was next on our list to talk to. Monty said, "Hey, rookie, get out of that chair. You're out of here."
When is a rookie no longer a rookie?
Well, technically, after the 3rd game of his 2nd year. But some guys, they're rookies their whole lives.
4 tight ends now in for the Redskins on first down. And the clock shows 4:18 and counting. Rick Bryan makes the tackle. We talked about that fashion contest that the Atlanta Falcons had yesterday, and they are a very loose group and a lot of fun to be around. And Jamie Dukes was telling us the difference in the fashion show was Tim McKyer, that Chris Hinton said, you can't wear a plastic belt. You got to know that cuffs have been in for 8 years. And on top of that, McKyer wore brass instead of gold. And that was the difference. Well, we checked around and said, who is the worst dressed player on the Atlanta Falcons? Sad to say, it was a defensive line.
Some guy from Oklahoma out there.
Where's 77? Here's the blitz on the run. And the handoff is down at the 28-yard line. 3:25 to go. No timeouts left for Atlanta, of course.
And Irvins is getting close to that 100-yard mark. Needs just 5 more yards. But with the time, no timeouts, no way to stop the clock, the Redskins can put this one away. But it's interesting that Gibbs is going with Irvins in this situation now instead of Ernest Biner. He says that Irvins has given him a lot of big plays all year long.
Third down and 5. (24-7). Washington at home next week against either Dallas or Detroit. Irvins, here's his 100. And a few more to tack on for good pleasure. Congratulations from Ed Simmons. Tracy Eaton with the tackle.
Watch as they hit off the left side here with the counter move here. Irvins gets around the corner. And now Dion gets tripped up by the
thought that was second base.
seat cushion there.
Irvins 104 yards in the ball game. Dallas and Detroit coming up tomorrow on CBS. Wilbur Marshall and Brad Edwards begin the celebration, or rather continue it, on the Redskin bench. 2 minutes to go. Washington up by 17, in control. They'll win it. Show coming up with Greg and Terry and John Robinson back in our New York studio, and that'll be followed by college basketball. The undefeated UConn Huskies travel to Champaign, Illinois to take on the Fighting Illini. That's coming up live after the NFL postgame show. 2 minutes to go. 24-7. Washington leads it. Turnovers have caused a problem for the Atlanta Falcons. They can't stop the clock. And on the sideline, of course, the Redskins having some fun now with the Atlanta theme song, Too Legit to Quit.
Yeah, and I think they're having a little bit of trouble with Too Legit Too legit ain't spit. Is that what is that the way it goes?
Well, there's Hammer. I'm on your side. He toughed it out today and stuck with Jerry Glanville in the bunch.
I wonder what happened to MC part of that, though. I mean, he's going the way of Cher, huh? And Madonna,
yeah.
One name.
You reach that kind of status, and it's one name.
Oh, it's kind of like Vern.
Yeah, there's that guy in Tennessee who keeps doing those commercials. Trying to get rid of him for years. Mark Rippon on second down. They will stop the clock again. For Jerry Glanville and the Falcons. By the way, Evander Holyfield was on the bench. I see Hammer still over there. I don't know if the heavyweight champion is gone to drier ground. And for the Redskins at home next week against either Dallas or Detroit. There's Evander.
There he is.
He's too legit to quit.
He had a little tough time last time out, though. Now they're talking about him and George again.
Mike Ken, 14th year in the league. And the season will end today. Class act. The Washington Redskins will be at home a week from tomorrow, the NFC Championship game against either Dallas or Detroit. They run their postseason record here under Joe Gibbs to 8-1. Jim Hannafin on the right. Offensive line coach. No sacks again today. Better than 140 yards. Our game today produced by Mark Wolf, directed by Larry Cavallina. The NFL Today produced by Eric Mann, directed by Duke Struck. The senior producer of the NFL on CBS is Ed Goran, and the executive producer is Ted Shaker. (24-7). Joe Gibbs and the Redskins are victorious.
In making an artistic statement,